I'd like to thank you for inviting me on the show. It's such an honour to be here, and I'd just like to say that when I'm not playing Xbox with my mate Thor, I really like to listen to my favourite podcast, Pop Culture Pasta. Hey, Doug! Doug! Oh, that's right, Doug's dead.
Pop Culture Pastor.
So I'm kind of walking on eggshells here. Because I feel like if I say the wrong thing, we could go down these rabbit holes. Because me and DJ together.
It's bad. It's so bad. It is so bad.
This could be the least amount you hear my voice.
Cody looks like the meme with the emoji with the gritted teeth.
Yeah, that's me.
My wife's like, asking, who can we double date with? I said, we could double date with the Rimbolts, but y'all wouldn't like us. By the time it was over, me and Dave would be roommates.
Yeah.
We'd be like stepbrothers. We have so much room for activities. it would be so bad.
We'd be like, speaking of activities, DJ, did you hear about this? Yeah, but did you hear about this?
I want to say this, though. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I was coaching, and I told one of the players, you need to be Bill Laimbeer, and nobody knew who I was talking about.
Oh, what?
That happens.
That's sad.
I know that has nothing to do, but since we're talking about chasing rabbits, I had this moment of disappointment that I can't wrap my mind around. That's where we are.
So I had a moment like that today, and I messaged Dave about it. Like, this is the first time I think in NFL playoff history that I'm older than any of the starting quarterbacks that are left.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's a special time.
And I'm like, oh, I'm quite a bit older. So,
yeah.
Tom, I needed you to stay in.
Yeah, I get that.
I tried to explain to my youth group a couple weeks ago who Bill Laimbeer was. I said, well, you know how hockey, there's like the guy on the ice who's not really a hockey player. He's just there to beat people up.
Yeah.
Basketball had those. The NBA had those in like the 80s and the early 90s.
Yeah, they called them enforcers.
And Bill Laimbeer, he's terrible at basketball.
He wasn't terrible.
Okay, he wasn't terrible, but that's not why he was there. He was there to keep you from driving to the rim.
There's some truth to that. He was a poppet. You attract the defender. Isaiah, Vinny would track defenders, and Bill Laimbeer's going to pop the three. He was one of the. I could argue that he was ahead of his time. He could step out on the floor, hit the 15-footer, hit the three-pointer. He played his role. That was back when teamwork and pro sports was still a thing.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
And so the Celtics had several players like that too, that you could say was terrible if you wanted to, but within a team, if he played today, you're exactly right. But you guys remember Sabonis and those guys?
Oh yeah.
Sabonis was cold, man. Arthritis Sabonis, he was cold-blooded. They fulfilled their role well. I think even Vlade Divac would struggle today.
Yeah.
It's already started, you guys.
I told you.
Charles Oakley.
I told you when I gave the comment that we were chasing a rabbit.
Last thing on that, my kids were impressed that there was a video game called Bill Laimbeer's Combat Basketball.
There you go.
What?
Oh yeah. See, you're too young. You're too young to remember.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Bill. I just don't remember there being a video game.
There was a Bill Laimbeer's Combat Basketball. It was great. No, it was not a great game.
It went wood. 5 people bought it.
Okay, this is the pop. Several people already turned off this podcast.
You think so?
They were like, wait, this is not. What are they talking about? Why are they talking about this?
Isn't basketball part of pop culture? No.
I guess so.
I guess if you guys always talk about nerdy stuff, this is what you tell me.
Yeah.
So I guess it may not be like, I mean, if I was an athlete, so if I was on the other side of things, hearing about athletics would probably not be fun.
We are a home for many fandoms.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. This is the Pop Culture Pastor podcast. My name's Dave. Cody's here. The other voice you're hearing is that of DJ Dangerfield, who's been on the show once before. He is our documentary geek of the round table.
Yeah, buddy.
You're in.
Yeah.
I've never been called a geek before. I've been called a lot of things.
There's a first time for everything.
Ain't no geek on the street.
Yeah, ain't no geek, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so like DJ, you might remember, was a part of the longest episode of Pop Culture Pastor ever.
Guinness Book of World Record setting episode.
Our favorite documentaries episode.
And nobody is surprised.
Which, if you haven't listened to it, go back if you got a few hours.
Got a week.
And listen to it. All right. First thing we do is we talk about news. And boy, DJ, did you come on the right night. Just the weirdest. Okay, I'll just get into it.
I'm so excited about this news story.
Praz. Do you remember Praz from the
rapper?
Fugees?
Yeah.
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 Apparently, he's about to go on trial for a campaign finance foreign agent and witness tampering charges trial. Political stuff, okay? He was indicted in 2019 on charges that he conspired with a Malaysian businessman named Joe Low. Like, come on now, stop it.
How do you spell the last name?
L-O-W.
Oh, wow.
His name's Joe Low.
Wow.
And he conspired with him to transfer more than $21 million to the United States to back efforts for Obama's reelection in 2012. A revised indictment filed last year linked those donations to an influence effort that allegedly continued into Trump's term and was allegedly aimed at stymieing a Justice Department investigation into the looting of Malaysia's sovereign wealth fund. Okay. So this is like political. This is a real like geopolitical thing, and somehow this dude who is the weakest link in a 90s rap supergroup, the Fugees, Praz, was the middleman in all this, and he's about to go on trial. You ready for the crazy stuff?
So what kind of time is he looking at? I wouldn't know what kind of time that would get you.
I didn't know about it till today.
Yeah.
This is what his lawyer said today during a hearing held by video conference. We're planning on calling former President Trump and former President Obama. The subpoenas are going out for service today. What? Wait, what?
Okay, say that again. Let me take that in.
Okay, so the Fugees,
Yeah.
Wyclef, Lauryn
Yeah,
Hill,
yeah.
Praz.
Yeah.
Praz is about to go on trial for some real geopolitical
Yeah, I knew that
stuff. And they're calling his lawyer is subpoenaing President Trump and President Obama to testify.
Oh, wow.
Barrio will take the stand.
Listen. Praz said, what did he say? He said, ready or not, refugees take you over. Buffalo soldier, dreadlock Rasta.
Ready or not,
on the 12th hour, fly by in my bomber. Cruise run for cover, now the underground, pushing up flowers. That was Praz there. Superfly, something like that.
Oh, my God.
He said something like bounce around the border like I'm Cassius Clay.
What if you had on if you back in like the early aughts, you had on your bingo card Praz, Obama, and Trump in political intrigue.
But of course they're not.
You'd have thrown that card away.
For the record, Obama and Trump aren't showing up to that.
Oh no, of course not.
For the record,
I am choosing to believe they will be there.
And they're going to form their own supergroup where Praz will continue to rap with a metronome.
Well, Praz and the Fugees, one of the greatest rap groups in hip hop history.
Yes, I would agree with that.
One of the best albums, top 20 best hip hop albums.
And they weren't bad when they went solo.
Yeah,
Lauryn Hill's album.
But yeah, that's in Miseducation. Lauryn Hill's on the top 22.
Goodness.
I mean,
you youngins, you don't know about that.
But
I know Dave has it in his top 3, and it's not 3.
That album, that Fuji album, yeah, unbelievable.
So good,
so good.
I don't understand what's going on here, but he's pleaded not guilty. He's free pending trial.
So Praz and Wyclef have both went political. Wyclef in Haiti, he even ran for president at one point in Haiti.
Wow. Well, we might as well keep it in music.
Yeah. Okay.
Kenny Loggins is in the news.
What?
He announces...
Is that Highway to the Danger Zone?
That is Kenny Loggins.
He's announcing that this next tour he's going on is his farewell tour. The This Is It farewell tour.
I will say this. I've seen Kenny Loggins in concert. And I will say this. The brother can sing.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
About 8 years ago, 9 years ago.
How old do you think he is?
It was totally on accident. Wait,
tell us the story. Wait.
Okay, so y'all ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So some nameless Christian music artist that I was hanging out with was like, hey, we're going to go watch Kenny Loggins perform at this, what do I want to call this place? So I got to make sure I know we got saved people on the line.
Oh, no, you're good.
So it was a casino.
All right.
Okay.
And so we went backstage and met him and all that good stuff. And then we went out, got on the front row, and Kenny Loggins sang. And I mean, he sang. And his homeboy came out and did 3 or 4 songs with him. Daryl Hall came out and did some of his songs. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, right in front of my face.
Oh, my.
Tore the house up. When I say singing, though, wow. And I think at that time he was like 60.
Wow.
So I can't imagine how old is he now?
He's 75.
Yep. See, I told you. At that time he was look good too.
He's going on tour. He's 75.
Yeah. Hey, if you got it, you talk about well, first of all, rents do. And, you know,
I was going to say Willie still goes out on tour.
BB King was like 55 sitting on a stool.
Yeah. I'm just telling you, Kenny Loggins can flat out sing.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
What's your favorite Kenny Loggins song and why is it I'm All Right?
Well, that's a good one. That's
Everyone
a good
talks about Footloose,
Yeah,
but I'm All Right.
yeah, Footloose is not even on the list for me with Kenny Loggins.
Yeah, not me.
Like, how did he get tasked with writing every soundtrack for 80s movies?
He's wrote a lot of other people too. He has a lot of songwriting credits.
Yeah, his voice is like the soundtrack for a lot of
but
movies.
absolutely. Yeah.
And
in the 80s, it was we went on a run with him.
Top Gun, Danger Zone.
Yeah, it was just
Caddyshack was I'm All Right.
Yeah, he can just sing.
Yeah.
I did not know. I didn't realize, or maybe I was because I was young. I didn't appreciate. And then you have him and Daryl Hall come out, and they're just like I guess in the late '90s and early 2000s they went on tour together because Hall & Oates had broken up, and Kenny Loggins, Daryl Hall, so they were like, "You want to do this one like we did?" Yeah. And they started singing.
Yeah.
It was good.
Hall & Oates is wildly underrated.
Absolutely.
They are.
Straight up. And let me tell you something. What's cool about Hall & Oates is like they are in heavy rotation. When I was a kid, they were heavy rotation on the black station. Oh, for some reason, the African American community loves Hall & Oates. Heavy rotation. You turn on the black radio station and they are playing Hall & Oates. Oh, yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Heavy rotation. Still to this day, when I go to Kansas City, they have an African American station up there that plays 80s, 90s, and 2000s music. And still to this day, Sir Smile comes on.
Oh, man.
By Hall & Oates.
Nice.
For me, it's all about She's Gone.
Well, I mean, and you talk about you think Brothers is singing that.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's such a
good
song.
stuff. Yeah.
You catch me in the right moment.
I'll
belt
Sarah
that out.
Sarah Smile's a beast too, though. That's a beast. That's beast mode.
You guys into you guys don't watch, you and your wife, Cody, don't watch The Bachelor or anything like that, right?
No.
Yeah.
No. Don't make me watch it.
Did you ever watch it?
No.
I haven't either.
I
I don't
watched-
know anything about it.
I watched a season of it way back when, because I had a friend that was into it, and like I don't understand how people could watch it because anyways, I'm hinting at that because there's a new one coming out called Farmer Wants a Wife.
I saw a commercial for it.
What was the general overall tone? Was it like our people from like around here, like Kansas folk?
I mean, so
Are we talking about like the profession farmer, or
They-
or
somebody's?
is it like a
just
mixture
people-
of like Joe Millionaire?
Is it just a bunch of people with the last name Farmer?
Is it like rich farmers?
so they seemed like over the top with the accent. Like, had the thickest draw, but then like did not fit my stereotype of farming and ranching people that I've known for my whole life.
Okay.
So it didn't match up with the title.
This is according to EW. Farmer Wants a Wife connects 4 hunky men with a gaggle of unattached women who aren't having any luck finding a mate in the big city. They'll learn what it's like to live and work on a real farm while hoping to find a love connection with one of the hunky homestead owners.
So it's going to be one of those stereotype shows that they can promote. Yeah.
None of that's not going to last, right? Farmers have a particular woman they usually marry.
Yeah,
Like-
farmers and pastors have to marry the same type of wife.
Oh,
Okay, now I'm
I'm
ready
all
for
ears.
this
Yeah,
truth
hold on.
bomb that's about to be dropped.
I mean, Jesus compared the kingdom to farming for a reason. I mean, there's a harvest time. You've got to be able to deal with a husband who, when it's hitting, it's hitting. Mm-hmm. And so if your church starts exploding, you're not going to be home. You can't have an exploding church and be home and catch every basketball game, and it's not happening.
Yeah.
It's just not. So a farmer's wife and a pastor's wife, a good pastor, they're one and the same.
And I will say that
I always learn so much when you're here.
When there's lows, in which there's a lot of lows in being a pastor.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of lows in farming communities. That there's like specific therapists just for farming and ranchers.
Yeah, well,
because the suicide rate's higher, depression rate's higher. The highs and lows of economics with farming and ranching.
So the spouse has to be selfless. I mean, I'm talking about the epitome of selfless. I mean, and we're getting away from gender roles. That's not becoming a thing you can say, but there's definitely with a pastor's wife and a farmer's wife a specific role they have to play for it to be successful. For the whole thing to work. Because when a pastor gets divorced, the whole thing comes, just like with farmers. I mean, they take half of everything too. And it's a big deal. And as a pastor, I've been a part of that. I've seen it with my own eyes. Yeah. And so I have learned that if you are a pastor and your wife was mentored by a good farmer's wife, you ready to take the city. You ready.
Are any of the couples from like the Bachelor shows, are any of them still together?
I don't know anything about that show.
I always see these articles that say like, they broke up.
That there has been some that have lasted for multiple years. I don't know if they're still together. Just because you do see those articles like which couple's still together and which one isn't.
I mean, we can do that in our town without the show. So with the fact that it doesn't surprise anybody that we can do that with anybody. I mean, we're just to that point now where that type of commitment, that long-term commitment and the selflessness that comes with it, it's a lost art.
Yeah. Speaking of reality TV, why didn't y'all tell me the Chrisleys were going to prison?
Oh, okay, that's news.
Who is that?
Old news.
Chrisley knows best. Like it was, I don't even.
What
channel was that on?
Super pasty white people.
USA Network. Yeah, they were super rich.
And like just over the top stereotype.
So is this like reality TV?
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently they're going to prison. They showed up for prison today, according to EW.
What'd they do? Was it on TV?
I know.
Fraud and tax evasion.
Oh, there 17 you go. Combined years, I believe, is what I heard.
There you go. They'll be right next to Wesley Snipes.
That's Wesley's out, man.
Oh, Wesley's out.
Wesley's out, and he said he wants to be in the new Blade movies. And Kevin
put him right next to Wesley.
Kevin Feige is like, we'll call you.
Oh man, wow. Okay, I don't know who they are, but praying.
Here's something else I didn't know. So we're doing heavy 90s today.
Okay.
Did we know and do we need a House Party reboot?
Did you know
there's a House Party
reboot?
About
Kid and Play?
Yeah,
might as well.
I don't know if they're going to be
anybody from the 90s that has money on the table, go get it. Why not?
Oh yeah, you cash in on that nostalgia.
I mean, you're watching everybody else is doing it. Why would you leave money on the table? I say go get it.
I mean, literally,
I cannot wait for Vampire in Brooklyn to reboot.
I mean, tonight's main topic is like people cashing in on nostalgia.
I say, yeah. I mean, who's going to go see it? How they're going to market it? How they pull it off? I'm sure you got to put Kevin Hart in it at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you pull that off? I don't know, but it doesn't surprise me.
Here's some people that are going to be in a Kid and Play. Are supposed to make a cameo. Yeah. Snoop Dogg, LeBron, Maya. You remember her?
Yeah.
I already said Snoop Dogg. Little John. Mark Cuban. Randomly Mark Cuban. Odell Beckham Jr.
There you go.
So does this bring back the dance that they did and it trends on TikTok for like a month?
Juvenile.
You know what's interesting about that? You know, I loved those movies growing up as a kid, but I haven't watched them in a long time. But that's where Martin Lawrence, the very first one, that's where Martin Lawrence kind of made his one of his big breaks. That was when Martin Lawrence's first big movie. He kept bumping he was a DJ and they kept bumping his DJ. Dude was dancing, bumping his records.
All right. That's all the news I got.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to take a break.
I got to look up this Chrisley family. I don't know who they are. And now you got this word pasty. I didn't know you could call another human being.
You really don't.
Pasty.
You really don't need to look them up.
Okay, I won't. They're
like Cody, you said that. It's like when white people say it's like, yeah, they're overly white.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't remember the name of the Chevy Chase movie, But there was that albino guy that like kidnapped the Pope.
What?
Okay, yeah, you
No,
got me.
Are you talking about the the Da Vinci Code?
No, no, 80s Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo's in it.
Oh, I don't
And
remember
it's not
that.
Vacation.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Now
I
you're
do
gonna
remember
make me
the
look
one
it up.
where he's snorting the powder and he goes up on the roof. What was that? And it has the lady from it has the black woman that can sing really good. She had a little TV show. You know what I'm talking about? And Chevy Chase, Chevy Chase like has a demon, and she puts this powder on the ground, and Chevy Chase he sniffs it. He snorts it.
Was it Foul Play with Goldie Hawn and not Beverly?
It's Goldie Hawn, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The albino guy that kidnaps the Pope.
Man, it's been about 38 years.
And
probably
now
since I've
DJ's going to have to look up
I
this
got you
Chevy Chase movie.
because the black woman playing in it is a significant character in the 1980s. When I get down to who she is, no, when I say her name, and it's only because I'm not going to be any good because I was coaching today. It's called Modern Problems. That's the name of it. Modern Problems.
Wow, I don't even remember
It's
that.
a really good movie with Chevy Chase back in the day, and it has. Oh, I can't find her. Nell Carter.
Nell Carter?
Nell Carter.
Oh, Nell Carter is, what was that show?
The
the
Give Me a
sitcom.
Break.
Give Me a Break, yeah.
Yeah. I told you.
Yeah.
Significant black woman from the 80s. And it's called Misbehaving. And it's called Modern Problems. She was on the play Misbehaving. That's why I said that. It's called Modern Problems. And yeah, it didn't do very good at the box office. But it is a funny movie. And I can't, and I don't remember it like all the way. So I would watch it with some and trepidation. I wouldn't just go watch it. I'd make sure I would check the rating and all that. Because I can't remember. It's Chevy Chase. And sometimes he would show stuff that maybe shouldn't be.
Nell Carter was a big deal.
Yeah.
In the 80s. That sitcom, Give Me a Break.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
Give me a break. Break me off a piece of
No,
not that one.
No, that's not it, brother.
That sounds like
Tidal
copyright.
wave.
That
was an office joke.
Yeah, it was a nice try. Yeah, he was like, break me off a piece of that. Nobody would tell him.
Yeah.
Don't tell him.
Fancy feast.
All right. Okay. We're out of control. We're going to come back and we're going to focus on the Miss Cleo documentary.
Oh, we're going right to it.
Yeah, we're
that
going right to
wasn't
it.
bad.
No.
Yeah.
No, we didn't go long.
Yeah.
We were scattershot, but not bad at all.
We'll be back.
We'll be back. All right, welcome back. We are. What's happening?
So was that on here? Did you say
No.
Max? Okay.
No, I said that before I hit record. That's for us to know and you to find out.
Yeah.
Never.
In between takes, God only knows what is said.
You probably already know this, but we don't edit this.
So
Yeah.
so you guys' ratings must be really high right now, and you just want them to kind of go down so you stay humble. So you bring me on. Is that what's going on?
No, actually, I got a lot of comments about the documentary episode. People loved it.
It's like, my goodness.
We are ready for the DJ bump.
Yeah. Well, the thing is about a DJ too is like, yeah, I think people just like listen to us talk because I don't know that many people that listen to our podcast are super into documentaries, but
Yeah.
this one is about like if you're old enough. If you know our 25-year-old, we have a kind of a listener base that's in the low 20s, but then we have a kind of a listener base that's in like your mid 30s, like Cody's age.
Oh, gotcha.
And,
Yeah.
you know.
So
upper
how
20s.
does not Mark Driscoll, Joe Rogan do it?
Yeah.
I don't know why I was going to say Mark Driscoll.
Two different cats.
No, I don't think they really are. so how does Joe Rogan get away with like a 4-hour podcast?
I don't know, man. He has interesting people on, and then he just asks some questions,
It's just interesting to me.
which was crazy during the whole Twitter thing. Like when everybody was mad at him because
Yeah.
he had on people they disagreed with.
Well, even the Spotify people were mad at him. They were talking about
Yeah.
going on strike, and the guy was like, "What do you want me to do?
And
if we cut him off the air, you guys all lose your jobs anyway."
but everyone was like, Joe Rogan's a villain. I'm like, all he does is ask questions.
And of the people to be on the show News Radio, he wasn't the one I had having the most successful career.
Yeah, I get it.
He may not have been, but he's
he
beating everyone by
definitely-
a solid mile.
But
That dude's rich.
Oh, yeah.
by a solid mile.
He's rich.
He said it's a solid. He's definitely got the lead, Davis.
Yeah. I don't even want Joe Rogan money. Like, if we could just make enough money to go to comic conventions and stuff, and
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
A couple vacations a year. Yeah, you're good.
So, you know.
Help the little kids in the neighborhood. You're good to go.
share the podcast with your friends. That's what I'm
there
saying.
you go. Yeah, share the pod.
So the documentary we watched is called "Call Me Miss Cleo." Call me now.
That's what she would say.
Oh, yeah.
You was pretty close there.
Was I?
Yeah,
Good.
You sounded Jamaican. Are you Jamaican? Are you trying to fool us?
No.
Dave
Well,
and Chet
am I?
Hanks.
Am I? I don't know.
Shit. That's the second time his name has come up today. That's scary. His name came up earlier today.
Why?
No, keep going.
Yeah.
Nope,
Don't go
do it.
down this
Don't-
rabbit hole.
You don't want to go down this hole.
I don't even know if we probably don't even want to stick to the normal format of when we review a movie or anything like that, because this is a documentary. It's different. But like in this documentary, let's just talk about the documentary overall at first. This isn't I don't think this is a very greatly constructed documentary by any sense.
No, again, it's because of Cleo that we're here.
Yes. So like in some sense, we're here to talk about Miss Cleo. And some of you are like, we're 30 minutes into the podcast and you're like, who's Miss Cleo? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Let's take DJ back. DJ, you're 22 years old.
Glory to God.
23.
Glory.
And you're back from a night out with friends. We don't need to be
man.
specific.
Yeah, talking here.
And you've got your like late night food.
Yeah, talk.
And you turn on
Did I
the
go to
TV.
Joe's Donuts, man?
Yeah, you went to
I
Joe's Donuts.
Oh, glory
Lawrence,
to God.
Kansas, Joe's Donuts.
Thank
they
you,
had,
G.
They had the freshly made donuts
Oh,
at
glory
night.
to God. Glory to God.
And you've got your Joe's Donuts melt in your mouth, and you turn on the TV.
Cody, you have no idea
I really don't.
what this establishment meant to us. Keep going, though.
If we start talking about Joe's
It's
Donuts,
over. Yeah,
we're
we'll lose
never
Dave.
talking about Cleo.
We'll lose Dave. Keep going. Keep going.
So we're sitting there, we turn on the TV, and on comes this very like striking black lady. And she's dressed like you kind of get like she's got a kind of an island flavor, and she says, "My name is Miss Cleo." I'm sorry, my accent. I can't do this accent.
You
It's
switched
hard.
on me.
Call me now. and the whole thing was she was part of this thing called the Psychic Friends Network.
Yeah.
Now you got to understand, you young people.
Dionne Warwick did it.
I
for
was
a little
going to
bit.
say,
Yeah,
is
there was-
Dion involved
No,
with
there's
this?
there's multiple of them.
Multiple.
Yeah, this was a thing. In fact, calling 900 numbers for all sorts
Kinds of
things.
reasons, yeah.
Yeah. Don't Google it, kids.
Yeah, don't.
Just trust us that people were dialing 900 numbers for
Yeah.
like $5 a minute.
Yep.
Listen,
You could talk to a horse.
I know people personally.
There was a 900 number you could just call and talk to a horse.
I know someone in my group of family and friends that I'm not going to say whether it was a girl or guy because I don't want to narrow it down for anybody, but they were regularly calling the Psychic Friends Network.
So I had a family member, or former family member, that she called the Psychic Friends Network, especially when Miss Cleo is coming on the scene.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal in the 90s.
Miss Cleo is like the face of this. So she's okay. On appearance, she's a Jamaican lady she's got like in the documentary, they kind of explain like she's got kind of the mammy kind of they're kind of borrowing from that image.
I wish they would have stuck that with that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Well, and
Because Hollywood has always had this weird get a black friend, help you through life thing, have a movie with Will Smith, have Morgan Freeman, and they kind of come alongside you, and he's down on the totem pole, but he somehow has got some wisdom in him.
Well,
He's-
I mean,
he's
look at
able to
Happy
help you with it.
Gilmore.
Huh?
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
He has
Chubbs?
yeah. So like the documentary spends like a minute on it.
Yeah, I wish they'd have went deeper into that.
Yeah, they even say it, and I'm like, this was news to me. So I'm like, what's this about? But they talk about the effect of like the mammy thing and on white people.
Yeah,
and I'm just
absolutely.
like, wait, what's
It's a
this?
moneymaker. It's a moneymaker.
there's something else that one of the acting troupe ladies talk about is like, you can portray to non-black people, if you're black, that you're more exotic.
Yeah.
and play on white people's naiveness.
Absolutely.
And
So
guilt, I guess.
So absolutely, there's a piece of guilt there. It's also a lack of caring about any other culture. So we're trying to fix that pendulum swing now, and that's why it's become so ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
The way of fixing it is making it more ridiculous than it was before it was. You know what I mean? The actual problem. So yes, that's absolutely something that has always happened. If I would go, when I went around speaking about my former gang activity, my calendar was filled with speaking engagements. If I say I'm speaking on making good decisions, zero. As soon as I changed my talk to good choices, being responsible, whole thing changed in the public school sector. They loved it when I showed up as a former gangster crip. And every time it was the sensationalism, all of that. That's an awesome. They love it. They love it, and it's easy. I was in Joplin at a church. I told you guys about it.
Yeah,
I got in trouble. Okay, so I was at this church and I was talking to this white pastor who's Pentecostal, and he has a lot of what I would call African American tendencies.
Okay.
And sometimes Bill Clinton gets credited with those too, right?
Yeah.
And so he has like these, and so the way he says glory. He says glory like us. In the green room, they had food for the pastors, and there was a lot of food that only African Americans really understand. Like, we don't cook macaroni and cheese like everybody else does, and all that kind of stuff. But it was cooked the way we cook it. And so I was like, this brother knows what he's doing. And he would sing. He sang. He had runs. He would do a run inside of a run, when an ad lib inside of an ad lib when he was singing. Long story short, I said, "Man, where are you from?" He said, "Yeah, I'm from Michigan. I was a pastor at a predominantly black church." He goes, "When white people hear me on the radio, they think I'm black. Black people know I'm not black, but they know I'm a different type of white guy." And that's what I would say. When white people see certain types of cultures that somebody else is doing, they, like JJ Davis is our most local one I can think of. I've been in situations where people literally were talking about black leadership in Chanute, and they were like, the only black leaders I can think of are Thuston and JJ. And they were serious. And I'm standing right there. And I was like, gosh, I guess I'm not black. And I was like, wow. So yeah, he's from Wichita. He grew up in the inner city.
Yeah.
The way that he talks, his stereo. And so that is how he's treated. You know what I mean? In a lot of sense, he actually deals with a lot more things than I do because of how he comes across. But technically, he's a white dude.
Yeah.
I mean, 100% white.
Yeah. Technically.
You know, but you have to say technically to these people because they treat him like an African American.
Yeah. And so, like, this, it's clear Miss Cleo, what's her real name? She's got like 5 aliases.
They never fully specify,
That's
although
right.
there's the birth certificate that lists out a name, but they only show like a clip of it, so it's hard to read.
Cleola is her last name.
I have it in my notes. Hold on, let me look. I put it in my notes.
So what we can be sure of is she had a rough upbringing. That seems to be the one thing everyone can agree on. And then she gets into this world where she's kind of playing on all these things that we've been talking about here.
Yeah.
She's kind of playing on this to kind of, I mean, I don't even know, because like there's gonna be a part of this where you watch a documentary like this and you say, oh, she's bad. And then there's going to be some people going to be like, no, she's just doing what she needed to do to survive. And I'm like, yeah, I think it's in the middle of that, right?
Yeah.
I think we're all in the middle of that, though.
Yeah, it's very, very complicated because you could argue, and wrestlers do this.
Yeah.
You have to understand wrestling and kayfabe. It's very much kayfabe. Psychic Network is all about believability, but at the same time, they're telling you that it's fake. But I can't get you to call unless I make it believable. And wrestling does the same thing. It's all about taking things and trying to make them as believable as possible. That's the whole point. And so it's kayfabe. So she's playing a character.
Yeah.
And that's why when you go to court, you're playing a character. Her problem is the same problem that Ric Flair has. I mean, if you watch the latest Ric Flair documentary that just came out.
He believes him.
Yeah,
He's that guy.
yeah. He at some point in time, you become the character, and he can't tell you when. And that's his struggle. He's Ric Flair, and Deion Sanders In his documentary, he talks about Prime and Deion Sanders, two different people. You know what I'm saying? They're two different people.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult when you're playing those parts because you got to get people to believe you. Like, so the $1 Million Man, literally, they had to make him look like a million. He never left his house without a limousine. Never.
Yeah.
They had to hire a limousine company. And every time Ted DiBiase left his house, they had to Vince McMahon bought a house. It was Vince McMahon's house, but he moved Ted DiBiase and his family in it because he's called the $1 Million Man. He can't live in my house and be called the $1 Million Man. We need people to believe. So his character cost them lots of money. You understand what I'm saying? So it's all about believability. But he wasn't a millionaire. Ted DiBiase was not a millionaire.
Wait, what? You're crushing my dreams.
Yeah. So it's all about believe, and that's the whole point. I want you to understand it's entertainment, but I want you to believe me. It's the strangest.
Which, like, I'm glad you bring up that point because there's a point in the documentary, and I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I won't dwell on it, that the lawyer that sues the Psychic Friend Network, he highlights that they say entertainment within their motto, and that's how they were getting away with what they were doing. And I'm like, ooh, wrestling does this.
Yeah, absolutely. You could make that if they really wanted to win. That would be where I'd go. So her name is Yuri Del Harris.
Yes, Yuri. Yeah. Oh, real question. Do you think it was right for them to get prosecuted? Like, okay, there was stuff they were doing with they were sending out letters.
Yeah.
Collection notices. That was bad. But like just the network itself.
I think they were way ahead of their time. They would be fine today because of the platform. She would be able to have everybody tune at the same time. It's a totally different platform now.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think in that day and time, yes, law is very contextual. So in the context of that day and time, it was a total scam.
Because the problem is it's not like today.
And here's the
where
thing.
she jumped on Facebook Live and people could like go in.
And
they were calling the Psychic Network. In fact, they talk about this in the documentary. They're calling the network, and they had several of these poor people that worked for them who are all describing this mixture of guilt.
They're not talking to her.
Yeah, they would say, can I talk to Miss Cleo? And then they were instructed to be like, let me go see if she's here, even though they're in like their apartment.
Walking around for a few minutes.
It's called the Psychic Network, which means you're probably not going to get, it's a network of psychics.
Yeah.
So in the name itself, we should have known. But they perpetrated the lie. And so legally, you got this precedence. It's no different than if you say you're not married and you're living together and you got insurance and you're paying some medical bills. You could make a case. People make case all the time. There are women who weren't married that get child support or get alimony, and they weren't legally married. But they basically built the case like this couple was for 25 years together. They have everything together.
Common law marriage.
In a sense.
Yeah.
You can make the case. And so you can make the case. And here's the thing. They acted like scammers. That's what makes Vince McMahon Vince McMahon. Mm-hmm. Like it's like when you are a ref and you know you missed the call, but you sell the call with like they didn't even sell it. Like they went in like, and then on top of that, they were scammers that scammed her.
Yeah. That's the crazy part. So like for the first half of the documentary, the whole question you're bouncing back and forth with is, was she really Jamaican? Is she not really Jamaican?
Yeah.
How big is this scam that she was pulling?
Yeah.
And then there's a turning point when you find out she didn't get any of the money.
Yeah.
Like she wasn't a part of that. She was just like playing a part for them.
What's the we can't play sound effects no more, but that's when you drop the Price is Right music right there.
Yeah. And I was just like, wow. Miss Cleo.
They had tarot cards with her face on them.
Yeah, I mean, they're making cash money.
She didn't get any.
So the one who got scammed was Mrs. Cleo.
Yeah.
Because she has this identity. Because they're using her for entertainment, but in her mind, based on that interview, she's either an amazing kayfabe that Vince McMahon should have hired her because she was not coming out of kayfabe.
No.
I'm a psychic. Okay. I have rocks. This is what I do. You know what I'm saying? She was not coming out of kayfabe. So she's either not coming out of it or she really believed she had some connection with the outer world.
Well, I think
ancestral plane.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then let's dwell on this for a minute, because I want to ask you, Cody, since you're the mental expert here.
Oh.
He said, "Oh."
I think what is portrayed and what you can gather from all these people who knew her talking about her in this documentary is she schizophrenic? Is she does she have multiple personalities?
One person said it.
Towards
the very end of the doc that
you have to either believe that or she's a scammer.
That she didn't know if she was really in tune with the spirit realm, because like she would get so tired, then this voice would take over and it's a man's voice. Mm-hmm. And I want to say the man's name was Michael.
She would say that like Cleo's resting.
Yeah, Cleo's resting.
Clearly a different personality.
And then another lady would come in and would take over. But she said that it's either that or she had split personalities. And I'm like, okay, so now you're saying that there's a chance that she had dissociative identity disorder, which is a very...
Now you're talking something. There you go. You said identity.
Yes.
That's the issue.
And that's the big thing throughout this documentary.
That's what I'm into.
Yes.
Identity. The voices and personality. No, this is an identity issue.
It is.
And when you have faced trauma, and when you have faced all kinds of different things, and then you put on an identity to survive, and then you start getting love and adoration, and now it makes money for you, and you start making a living, that becomes an issue.
So
whether it's prostitution, like prostitutes do this same thing, like to do some of the things that even like you could argue people that are on that Kardashian, I'm not saying the Kardashians, I'm trying to think, I can't think of somebody that's doing something like on social media and they're getting attention from it, they're getting attention this way. There are some terrible documentaries, I'm not going to say what they are, I'll talk about them off the air, that I can mention right now, where people are getting attention in the worst kind of ways. Mm-hmm. And they have to put on this whole new identity. And that's what wrestling does. And so that's why I go back to wrestling. Wrestlers, if you watch wrestling, that's why they die at 40. They struggle with this. Wrestlers struggle with this. Mm-hmm. And that's why I keep falling back to that.
Early on in the doc, if you can remember the acting troupe,
in Seattle,
from Langston Hughes Theater, and they're talking about Miss Cleo was originally a character she did in this play that she then took the money and ran.
Okay.
And like, okay, if you identify that she has childhood trauma and that she's actually starting to make a living off of this, and this is the way that she gets respect, notoriety, love. She's pouring in herself into this fake identity, this facade.
So I think if it's not for the inclusion of that acting troupe in Seattle, I'm pretty convinced she's just a scammer. But so it's really interesting when they talk about her. So this is like her earliest known like
acquaintances.
Yeah, acquaintances that we know of.
Don't bring on any of the siblings, even though they mention that like
it's clear that everyone that knows her doesn't know what's true.
Yeah.
In her past before that.
Because, like, in an interview, she said, my sister told me that I should sign up to be on the Psychic Friends hotline. And then the DA talks about, she had 10 siblings, or she said she had 10 siblings. And it's like, where's her family in this?
So when the acting troupe's talking about her early on in the documentary, and they're talking about this kind of pattern of behavior where she's clearly just like, you don't know at that point, you don't know if she's just lying or whatever, but she's getting, and then she like, it's sort of glossed over real quick, but that she leaves with some money like that was owed to the actors that she did to put on a show there, and she just kind of got away with. And I think like everyone in life runs into someone like that at some point where you got grifted. Mm-hmm. Like we would call them grifters.
Yeah.
But I think what you see in the rest of the show is like, you understand like, oh, right. So people who have gone through trauma, like you're talking about DJ, especially as a kid, they learn how to survive. They're in fight or flight always.
Yep.
And it's a survival instinct. Yeah. So like like, I think she really believes she's Miss Cleo, right?
But the problem is, I think it's, okay, how do I say this? Because you can't talk about this stuff because everybody is so jaded by the pop culture fights.
Yeah.
So I don't want your listener to think I'm going somewhere that I'm not. But I think every African American struggles with this in a baby way. For me to get respect and love from the predominant culture, I have to become something different. I have to. And Dave Chappelle talks about you got to have your inner white person when you go into that boardroom. They're not going to accept you as a black male. You have to be white to be accepted by white. Every black man knows. Like, I know that if I was to really be the depth of what it meant to be a black man in this community, I would not have anybody at my church. It's just not going to happen. And black people are sociologists. The successful black people that you see are sociologists. You have to learn about other cultures. You have to learn about how you have to be, and you have to get along. You have to suppress. I spend more time explaining myself if I don't. Because just white people do not educate themselves on other cultures. They just do not have to care. And it's not that it's white people, it's just whoever the predominant culture is of any given place doesn't do it. They don't have to.
We don't have to.
African Americans are 11%. I'm sure Jamaicans are 4% of this population. So you don't even have to try. So this is about predominant culture and what a person that's in a country, and I don't think you should feel sorry for us. I'm saying this is normal human nature playing out. I think when we talk about racism a lot in this country, we get away from the very normal human nature piece. There are so many things that are just blatantly normal that when people come on TV and try to act like this stuff isn't normal, take me to China. This is normal. This is just normal. So I think it's a normal thing. I think in order for you to be accepted and loved and earn in cultures that you aren't fully represented, you have to become, and I don't think that's going to change. I don't care what laws you pass. That's normal, basic. It's human nature in that regards is very programmed. There's a part of it that's programmed, and we can work towards that, right?
Yeah.
But there's also this pathological piece to it that goes all the way back to the trade when we started coming out of our holes and started trading with other. I'm talking about early man when we had the trade routes and then we brought home diseases from each other and our immune systems weren't equipped for those diseases. So you think those people are really disgusting. They gave me something that I could, and it's really just normal science. Like if you get hit with something foreign, your immune system's probably not ready for it. And everybody can handle their disease, but they couldn't handle the other people's disease. So it made you think things about those people that weren't real. So it's very programmable and pragmatic. It's very normal. And it takes soft-hearted people to be able to work through that. As an African American, I got to work through that because I know I'm less than 1% of this town. So my expectation for anybody to get me is really low. And if you don't, so I have to figure out what is the way they do things here. And if you're not careful, you become this whole other person.
Okay. Yeah.
And I will admit that's, so I'm gonna give you an example. I'm going off topic, but that's what you brought me on here for. When I was 7 years old, I grew up in the hood. And my parents left, I was molested at 5. So there's the trauma, right? Molested at 5 years old by 3 white men. And it happened because of a drug deal with a family member, and I'll leave it at that. And so they sold me for some drugs, okay? And I was molested, okay. 5 years old, okay. 8 years old, my idea of white people is pretty low, right? 3 white men molested me. So bad I don't remember it. So my therapist has taught me that's a mechanic of the brain. It's a way of protecting yourself. So to this day, I probably take 4 showers a day because if I smell body odor, because I smelled them guys, it triggers me. Body odor and they smell like body odor and beer. So if I smell beer, it'll also do the same thing. Okay. So 8 years old, who's my mom come home with? A white man. His name was Johnny Fox, white dude. All right. Country boy. Grew up in Henrietta, Oklahoma. Okay. Same town. Went to school with Troy Aikman. Okay.
Oh, wow.
All right. His name was Johnny Fox. I'm going somewhere. He taught me how to fish. He taught me country music, bought me my first pair of boots. So from 8 to about 14, I'm immersed into this country, Henrietta, Oklahoma, right? Rodeos, and all of that world because my stepdad just didn't care. You had to meet Johnny Fox, crazy white man. And so I struggled when I became a teenager because here I am wearing cowboy boots and these black kids are looking at me like, look at this Negro wearing these cowboy boots. And they're clowning me, right? Everywhere I went. And I love Western wear and I love country music. But that doesn't fit for black people, right?
Yeah.
I love the idea of, like, when I was a kid, if you asked me what I want to be, I would say a rancher. And everybody talked me out of it. Everybody made fun of me for it. Every time I'd go in the classroom, DJ, what do you want to be? I want to be a rancher. They start cracking up. And then the whole room would start laughing. The teacher go, well, DJ. Okay? These are white people. They run the world, period. There's no other way for me to think about this in my head. White people run the world. And they're telling me I can't be a rancher. And my black friends are laughing at me. So I have to create a new identity to survive this. There's no way I can survive in my mind being a black rancher in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, even though I would read books on it. I wanted to go to a farm. I wanted to be on a ranch. It wasn't until my early 40s that I finally decided I'm going to start wearing Western wear again. It took me 30 years to become okay with my love for what I would call agriculture and that stuff. It's okay.
Around here, by the way, we just call it wear.
What's that?
Around here, we just call it wear.
What did I call it?
Western wear.
My Western wear. Yeah, you wear. Get your.
We just call it clothes.
And I love, and me and you talk about that all the time because we have the same type of passion for music, and we listen really wide. Dave is one of the first people I ever met that honestly and genuinely listens to what, like he can go listen to Roots right on over to Willie Nelson when Think Nothing About It. He's the first. I'm the same way. Like I could switch genres like that and really genuinely and sincerely appreciate that genre of music. And I thought I was a weirdo. Like I may, on a Saturday morning, I may turn on bluegrass music in my house. And I thought I was weird because I liked bluegrass music. And then when I found out that was all African Americans were playing when they were slaves, it kind of threw me off a little bit. So it's just one of those things where I think people do this very naturally. This identity issue. And here's the coolest thing about this whole conversation. And I know this is not necessarily for Christians, but the coolest thing is the gospel answers this identity issue. So Mrs. Cleo had this terrible identity crisis and it was on TV, it was live. But I think it's very normal. What she was going through, I don't think gets talked about. Because now we're dealing with LGBTQ and all that, but there are some guys who are not as typically manly as other men.
Yeah.
And they're attracted to women, but they're just not manly men. And you have to figure out pretty quick how you're going to exist in the world. And you will front and do a lot of things that you normally wouldn't do so that you can survive the day. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? Well, so I think the identity, what this documentary brought to me was we all have this identity issue. And the culture dictates that.
I was going to say, like, within culture today, you see it from adults clear down to kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, especially with the whole social media influencer craze, kids wanting to be the next social media influencer that, well, I got to act and behave like this. I got to do this thing and present this way, even though this isn't how I was brought up. This isn't the culture that I was raised in. This actually seems quite foreign to me.
Here's the crazy thing about this documentary. If they'd have made it 15 years ago, like they took pieces of, there was apparently some interview with Miss Cleo that they did 15 years ago. And probably if it's 15 years ago, it wouldn't have been nearly as interesting.
No.
There would have been a nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
Because it comes out now. And I don't think even the documentary people even knew that they were doing this. I was absolutely engrossed in this. Even though I'm watching it, I'm like, this is not a put together documentary. But I'm engrossed in it because of what we're talking about.
Because people are scamming people like this now. You can have a fake character get on TikTok live, come to my Patron, and for $8.99 a month, I'll give you secret information. I'll do secret things, and you pay $8.99 a month. This is right now the very same thing is happening, and billions of dollars are being exchanged with these fake identities that people are giving trust over to.
And that's what this is about.
Absolutely.
This is about identity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like we live in a time where this is the problem of the 21st century is identity. And here I'm watching this documentary about Miss Cleo, and it's got all the nostalgia vibes for me, all the 90s stuff.
Yeah.
They're showing it on a TV VCR combo. And I'm like, oh man. And then it gets into the story and I'm like bouncing back and forth. I'm like, well, do you think she's really Jamaican? Is she really Jamaican? Her lawyer is being hilarious on CNN.
Yeah.
Because they ask him, is she really Jamaican? It's like, well, she's as Jamaican as anyone who's ever claimed to be Jamaican can be and is. She's more Jamaican than
Anyone
anybody.
that claims
and I'm like,
to have
what?
Jamaican ties.
What is this guy talking about? And I'm still not in it. But by the time they're getting to the part where there's more of the friends that she's around in the latter years for life, and I'm like, we start to see her as a real person, and you start to put her in the context of today where everyone is struggling so hard with identity, and you're like, yeah, this is it. This is the problem. She lived through this because of trauma in her childhood and all of these things. And then like she's unsure of who she is. We're unsure of what the reality was. And I'm like, yeah, we're living that now. There's tons of people out there who think there's something.
Can I just say something though? The day that when I told the classroom, I think I was in the 5th grade, that I wanted to be a rancher, that was one of the worst days of my life. I'm not kidding you. I was crushed when my teacher was like, probably. And she was just being honest. She was looking at the landscape of, they don't look too good, brother, in the classroom. And so.
Not these days. A teacher these days was like, you follow your dreams.
Well, yeah, maybe so. So for me in that moment, as I think about it, like, that part of life where if I would came in college and some rancher came up to me and was like, I see something, I want to show you what I do, I probably would have ran for it and made a lot of money, and who knows if that's what I was supposed to do, right? And I just think when it got to the point where she was able to monetize this fake identity, and then letters start coming in. And then what do you do if you're kayfabing it, you're faking it, but you're really helping people?
Yeah.
What if people are telling you, you changed my life?
Let me read you this quote. One of her friends, one of her acquaintances, actually, this is someone from the acting troupe.
Okay,
Near the end of the
so you
documentary.
have a different quote than I have.
She says this. She says, so apparently what you gather is a lot of people in this acting troupe were hurt by her. However it is she left, whatever happened. And this girl was young when she was there, because she looked like she was maybe in her upper 30s at the filming of this. She says, I've sympathized with her over the years because I imagine that she moved through life with a certain level of heaviness that she couldn't lift. If I can balance my recollections of her with acknowledging that there are ways in which she caused people pain, but there are also ways in which she brought people joy, then I'm okay with that. I think now as an adult, I can understand a bit better of what it was like to be her. Which, like, okay, so someone struggling with identity, like, what did she just describe? Empathy. Like, yeah, try to walk in their shoes a little bit.
Yeah.
And even if you feel like they're doing something bad, maybe they're like, Miss Cleo seems like a human. She's doing good things. She's doing bad things.
The lawsuit is bogus. I feel like that it should have been thrown out the first day. I still don't understand. Now, they done some things with their finances. They weren't doing their books right. There's other stuff than just they were claiming that she was.
Yeah, Miss Cleo being on the list of defendants was kind of ridiculous.
I think
as it comes to find out.
It clearly was entertainment. They clearly said it was entertainment. It was clearly said. It's called the Psychic Friends Network. Like, if you didn't know what it was, you weren't paying attention.
Yeah. So a quote that stood out to me towards the end of the documentary, but this was by a Florida friend. She was like, love doesn't have an accent. Compassion doesn't have an accent. Who I knew was loving and compassionate. And so she had connections with people that were genuine, even if some parts of her like if you grew up with her, you wouldn't recognize in her adult years.
Well, yeah, I mean, finding whatever you want to call it, the corny true self. Like, who are you really? The only way for that is through Christ to me. So I can't, like, how do these people arrive to the conclusion that they're their true self? I mean, the only thing you can do is double down on kayfabe and fake like you're something that you're not. I mean, this is why we have all the therapists we have.
Yeah.
I mean, we have so many therapists because think about all the people living this fake life. Think about, this is what happens to mega church pastors. They're not the guy on the stage.
Well, social media has thrown all this into overdrive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even like you just said, a mega church, like even what churches present across social media, it's all design. It's all by design. We're gonna take pictures, candid pictures of people smiling and laughing together on a Sunday morning. We're gonna slap our logo on it, and like all of the social media, it convinces us and has convinced us. This is probably why we have a problem with our identities. Is they've convinced us to put forth this image that can't ever really be us.
Dave won't remember this.
Okay.
Because I know Dave well enough. He won't remember it because he does this to me all the time. But one time me and Dave were in here having a conversation. I was telling Dave, they're about to install me as the senior pastor, and the only way I think I can do this is by having multiple speakers and multiple pastors because I just don't know everything. And I'm very uncomfortable with standing up in front of a congregation and going 10 ways to a better marriage, 5 ways to be a good husband, 6 ways, that's just not who I am. I just don't have that. And I was kind of telling you about it, and you're just smiling, and you go, DJ, it's called the body. That's what you said to me. It's called the body.
Look at Dave being insightful.
And I was like, but I was scared because typically speaking at our church and every other church in America, who talks every single Sunday?
The senior pastor.
And then when I say this to other churches, well, yeah, our youth pastor gets up about once every,
quarter.
You know what I'm saying? And our youth pastor speaks 3 or 4 times. I'm like, you clearly don't understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This idea that one human being every single Sunday and every single Wednesday, or how many services you have a week, should have 60 to 6,000 people, depending on your church, around him, nodding their head up and down like he knows what he's talking about. Every single week, 5 to 6 times a week, is not good for human psyche.
No.
It is not on any level good for human psyche. And then the only time somebody speaks is when he's gone.
Yeah.
No. And I have just learned that when I watch the Cleo documentary, I watch all these documentaries, the church is a breeding ground for these behaviors, and it's untouchable.
It is.
The church, if she's a scammer, I'm just telling y'all, we're playing the same game.
So
we are playing the same game to pretend like there's one man out there who can stand up in front of you every single week and just be on. Come on, y'all. And I know the Holy Spirit. I get it.
Yeah.
Holy Ghost power. I'm all for the Holy Ghost. But we're watching the last one that got me. The one that got me was my man Darren Patrick, when he killed himself. He had a horrible fall anyway out of St. Louis, phenomenal church, and then he kills himself. And nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
And he had a mega church. Nobody knows his name. Nobody talk. And the show continues on. And the problem with the church is us young guys think we can do it. No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And there's a train wreck of bad relationships with kids, bad relationship with your spouses. There's a train wreck behind us. So I feel like this identity crisis is everywhere.
Yeah,
it definitely
and
is.
you've got to know that you are capable of it. You've got to know that it's true, it's real. And you've got to have everybody's got to have support. I'm taking this to pastors. I'm hoping there's pastors listening.
Yeah.
For you to be running around here with no support and every single week you're the expert, there's no way for that to end other than you are doubling down on your ego. And nobody has the courage to tell you you're terrible to work with. Nobody has the courage to tell you the truth. So I just feel like this is something that's plaguing the church right now. It's just the documentaries that are done not well, like the one on Hillsongs. It's just not done well. It's just not, that Hillsong documentary is just not, it was like low-hanging fruit or hanging red meat to a bunch of liberals. It's just not done well. But that story of this one guy being responsible for the whole, we're in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an identity crisis. If you really knew who you were, you would not. You would go. There's no way.
Yeah.
And you see it with even Cleo in this documentary, because when everything falls off the rails, she just goes into seclusion.
Absolutely.
And it takes people to bring her back out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
good call. Good call, yeah.
You definitely see this with pastors, both young and old.
Yeah.
And there's just a system in expectation.
Now, check this out. This is what used to happen to me when I was younger, right? Talk about ego. Oh, Pastor DJ, wow. That meant over and over again. I barely know the gospel. This is 2006. I've just been preaching for 6 years. You've changed my life. You've inspired me. And then I start believing that. And then I start reforming my identity around that. And we got some local young pastors now that I'm praying for.
Yeah.
But you're walking around and you're believing this stuff. You really believe you're that good. It's kayfabe, bro. You're not. If Peter, who had the greatest pastor of all time, don't get it, who are you? Who are you? Who are you from Buffalo, New York, or from Toledo, Ohio? Right?
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at this thing go down like this selling of an identity is everywhere. I think everybody is selling this image of themselves, and whoever sells the best and whoever's the most believable will pay.
Well, we do have this desire or a void to be filled that, like you hinted, or that you said flat out, that only Christ is going to fill that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That your identity is going to be fully made aware through Christ.
There's all kinds of things to take from baptism, and I don't want to turn this into a fight. But at the end of the day, there is a piece of identity that goes with it, Paul says. You go down in the water like Jesus went down in the grave, and you come up. That's all identity stuff.
Yes.
You die to yourself.
You die to yourself. And so this idea of taking on a new identity in Christ, there's a flip of the gospel that doesn't get to. We're so moral centered and so try to be perfect and be a better person. But if I don't know who I am.
Okay, let me jump in, because this is where I love being someone of the faith. And I know that there's people that listen to this podcast that are, and I know that there's people to this podcast that aren't. Here's where I love the intersection between pop culture and between truth.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's this really cool thing at the end of this documentary. I cried. I wept at the end of this documentary.
I did not.
Yeah, this one?
Yes.
Yeah, I did not.
I know it sounds weird. I rewatched it several times. It's right before she gives her little voodoo poem.
There you go.
They're going through the friends.
That's the reason to cry.
No, it's bad. It's a bad poem. Yeah. But there's the friends. They go through this cycle of all the friends talking, and then the crazy chick from Mad TV, who I just kind of skipped over. I'm like, I'm on.
Deborah Wilson will not be labeled the crazy chick from Mad TV.
Deborah Wilson slander is happening on the podcast. So at the end, we get this sweet summation by her friends of her identity, and it's not. Like, listen, this is not biblical, but I think there's some truth stumbled upon here. Because at the end, all these people are saying her identity wasn't her occupation. It's not your stuff. It's not your money. It's not who your kids become. It's not your accomplishments. It's not your misdeeds. Your identity ultimately is in the memories you leave with the people you loved, the people who were closest to you. No one is on their deathbed going, man, I wish I would have worked more.
Yeah.
No one's on their deathbed thinking, oh, I'm glad I didn't hang out with my kids. No one thinks that, because in the end, we understand what matters. But what if you didn't really love anyone?
So I think
It'd
the
be as if you were
believer,
never
I think
here,
the
DJ.
believer, yeah, I think the believer though, we skip so fast over receiving God's love. We go straight to works. It's like, for God so loved the world, and we preach that message on Easter, and then after that, it's like, what are you going to do now? And I think you end up becoming this person who believes in Jesus. Jesus is Lord, but I still have this void of love. And if you're a pastor and you get it from being a great preacher, you're going to do whatever you got to do
to reinforce
because I need love. And I think that challenge for all of us to make sure that we get the primary role of our affirmation from the Father. I think that is our challenge, like as pastors, as church people, is like, am I really, do I really find my fulfillment in this idea of the work of the cross and Christ's love. And so you're talking about compassion, you're talking about all these things. And I think we struggle with those things because we haven't been filled with love like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And we're still doing a bunch of stuff over here off to the side so we can get whatever we think that has given us love.
Well,
if that's coaching.
It gives attention, and attention feels a little bit like love in the moment, but it leaves you empty.
Absolutely.
Let me go back to Miss Cleo.
Well, I was going to go back to Miss Cleo too, but okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So Miss Cleo is never right. She's broken. She's extremely broken. Even when she's popular.
Yeah.
She's going on talk shows. They show Jenny Jones.
Yeah.
And all the talk show hosts.
Jenny Jones.
Yeah.
Ricky Lake.
Yeah. So she's going on all the talk shows. But guess what? When it falls apart, she goes into seclusion. It's something in those video clips after and the friends who were with her who kind of pulled her out of seclusion. There's something to that to say like, oh yeah. And maybe she's more of herself in those interviews they did in 2007. She's maybe more herself than any time you could see.
True.
She's still got the Jamaican accent.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't even care at that point whether she's not really that person or some other person, because I think no, she's herself at this point. Yeah. And it's because she's being loved, like you're talked about. She's in a place where like, oh, it's real now. Life is real. Because look, the Bible tells us constantly to be present. Yeah. Like, whoever writes Ecclesiastes, if it's Solomon, he's basically saying, hey, you know all that stuff you can chase out in the world? I got it. Yeah. And it didn't matter.
Yeah.
None of it mattered.
Yeah.
He said the only thing that mattered was the stuff with the people, and then you got James.
But we're
don't
watching,
make plans.
And I'm not going to pretend to even know, but we're watching it like with Tom Brady. Like, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that because I'm not it isn't probably something I have to repent for tonight, but because you're watching it play out. Like, there's no way this is love of football. This is, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. He's openly said it.
It's identity.
Yeah, absolutely. He has openly said it in interviews where he's just like, I have no clue who I am in that regards. I know I'm a phenomenal quarterback. I know I win this way. I know people see me as something important, and I know that's where I'm my best at. But as far as who is Tom Brady, he's openly admitted he doesn't know who that is. And so it does. So even when you talk to kids, you start talking to kids about this thing, like getting them to talk about it is really difficult. It's hard to get somebody to take this conversation serious. And I'm just going to tell you guys as pastors, this is where I start kids. I don't start them with morality. I start them with identity. Like, well, who are you? I don't start with morality because that's the flip of the coin with the gospel. One side of it is morality and Jesus is Lord and obedience and commandments. But the other flip of the coin is you are a new creature. Old has passed away. And it doesn't matter in your gospel presentation which side of the coin you start with. And sometimes you see Jesus with the woman of the well. He kind of deals with identity. He does both. Who are you married to? What's up with that? What are you doing? So you see Jesus flip-flopping back and forth between identity and people's idea of the standard of morality. And I think America, with Billy Graham movement, went on a huge run starting with, hey, are you perfect? No. Have you ever lied? Yeah. Have you ever? Okay, now there's this idea that there is no morals. There is no standard of truth in that regards, but they can't touch identity. Oh, I have learned identity will disarm you.
It will. And I mean, even within the therapeutic sense, that's what a lot of people struggle with.
Absolutely.
They don't have a good grasp of who they are outside of either their marriage or outside of their job.
Yep.
So their identity's put all into one basket.
Or even outside of their race.
Race or
I
orientation.
think identity is deeper than race and sexual orientation. Yeah. And we're even fighting over this like that's what it is. And I would rather deal with Christians who would just go, I'd rather you be stubborn about being in Christ than fighting about the symptoms of this thing. I'd rather you double down on that and seem cliche than try to start people with their sexuality and their morality. I just don't get it. I don't understand why that is such a big deal and not just getting down to who are you? And we've put all these things in the front seat in regards to identity that to me just aren't. These are, I'm just like, wow, like I am way more than a black man. That's the whole point with racism. There's more to me than my skin color. But all you Negroes will talk about is skin color. It's like, there's more to me than that. There's so much more to me than that. Mm-hmm. And you can have a Jamaican accent and not be Jamaican. Like, it's just what it is.
Yeah.
And this documentary, ultimately, we'll talk about it later, but I can be a control freak on the Pastor Pop Culture show, the Pop Culture Pastor. And that just leads us to the Rachel conversation. That's all this does.
Yeah. So I mean,
That's all it does.
I want to go there as like because
that's all it does. Dave.
Later's now.
Yeah. Well,
later's now.
No. I have somewhere that we need
to
hit
go.
I feel
Go, Cody,
that
go,
we
Cody.
haven't
Go
gone.
there. Go.
Because I've been waiting patiently. Like a good person. So
oh my Lord.
Raven actually has a good point in this.
Raven Simone.
Raven Simone
is in the documentary.
Which it's the weirdest thing that she's in the documentary, but she's in the documentary. And I think it does have to do with church culture as well. Okay. Even though she's talking about a different type of spirituality.
Just hit me.
Her quote is, if it's real, it doesn't make a lot of money. But if it's not real, it makes money.
That was the most truth she spit in the whole documentary.
And I'm like, ooh. This talks to the church level pastors. And I'm not saying that the more wealthier pastors are not real. Not saying that. But it definitely should.
Kind of are.
It should make you at least pause and reflect.
Absolutely.
Am I doing what I'm called to do?
Yeah, absolutely. There is just so much fake. And it sells.
Oh, yeah.
The church loves ideal. The Bible is real. That's why I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Even all the way to the great theologian John MacArthur, I don't get it. This obsession with pretending like we're all so holy, we can't believe there are groups of people out there sinning. And the Bible doesn't leave out any of these characters. And all of them. The whole point of Corinthians is because these people are sinning. Yeah. The whole point of 1st and 2nd Corinthians. This guy at my church is telling me about the early church. If we would just be like the early church, I go, why did he? I said, yeah, I guess we could all go sleep with our stepmoms, I guess. It's in there, Dave.
I mean,
it's all in there. The rich people of the church were stealing at the communion table.
I was going to say, though,
that's all there.
The communion
and the poor
scripture,
people can't afford bread and wine.
Yeah,
the rich people were just like, we don't care, we got it. Yeah, and they have it at home.
Yeah, the communion scripture that we often read from is from Corinthians, and it's because. Like if you read before and after, it talks about how you don't save any bread and wine for your brothers and sisters.
They were greedy. I'm just like, if you read the Bible, it's real. These are real people, and real people are complicated. They're just complicated.
I mean, even in the book of Acts, you see Ananias and Sapphira.
Yes.
They lie to the elders like, oh, here's all the money from our house.
Wouldn't it be so much easier if God just killed people on the spot? And then you'd have to worry about it no more. It was like, God didn't want them here no more. He just killed them. But the whole point is he doesn't kill people on the spot no more. And all these people are coming into your congregation. And the church is just so ready to get rid of people. I don't understand this. And so you're going to get up there and talk about the ideal family to real people? Mm-hmm. You're gonna really do that? And there's the first family had God the Father as their daddy. Cain killed Abel.
Yep.
There was no MTV. There was no rap music. There's no marijuana that I know about. I'm like, what is going on here? So I'm just like, I'm not saying this justifies sin, but as soon as Noah got off the ark, what'd he do?
Drink.
Yep. I mean, if you look,
I don't understand what world sometimes that we're living in. And I just feel like the idea is you got to fake Everybody has this alternate personality that they're selling, and this happens primarily at church because your true self and your true struggle is not accepted to the point that you stop struggling with it. You either commit suicide or go, it's not sin.
I did not know Miss Cleo had so much in common with churches.
I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah.
I started watching it and I said, this is church.
Yeah. So that's why I messaged you that we needed to get DJ on this podcast because, like, as I'm watching it, I'm like, ooh, this says a lot to the church.
Absolutely.
And in various levels.
The danger of not allowing people to come as they are is that they will either say, you know what, there's nothing wrong with me, and they'll become delusional. Or they kill themselves. That sounds extreme, but there's no other option because you're not letting me go through the process. You're not letting me be my true self. Even Jesus let people speak up and go, okay, now that's not good, Peter. Even Jesus let people speak up. Even Jesus let people say things. Judas, he washed Judas's feet. That's the leader of our movement. And so if you're going to try to interpret a passage from Paul without considering that, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You're in trouble, period. That's where I'm at. I'm either going to make it at this church that I'm at, or I'm going to have to start my own church called It's Complicated. It's Complicated Church. Because I can't see it. I can't see it in the text. I have been looking for it. You got Joseph, you got Daniel, and you got the Apostle Paul. Those are the only three characters where I go, they baffle me. I cannot find anybody else who I just don't go, that's human.
Like,
that's real.
Enoch is the person I hold up like, oh, he was too good. God just took him.
It just doesn't tell us anything.
He's gone.
Anybody of substantial life living on this planet, you just go, wow, bless. Really, what's the difference between Saul and David? We really don't know. Like you can imply it, but when Saul got in trouble by Samuel for making a sacrifice, Samuel said he's coming back in 7 days in 1 Samuel 13. Saul waited 7 days. He didn't come on time. So what's Saul do? Hey, we're getting our butts kicked. I'm going to make a sacrifice. He doesn't trust God. But David, over and over again, David is so much of a sinner on his deathbed. They put a 16-year-old girl in the bed with him. And when he didn't touch her, they went, oh, he's dying. Now, you got a lust issue. You know you got a lust.
Oh.
So what's the difference? Only God understands what the difference is. But what I'm trying to understand is I can make a case that there's not, from David to Saul, there's not on the outside anything that I can see that makes them different. Only God can evaluate this. And all I know is all believers do is evaluate this thing like it's simple. And I'm trying to figure out, how is it this simple just to go, I don't like what this person, they're living together, they're not married, I think we should do this. I'm amazed by how much Holy Ghost they got. I hope he's working in that way in your own heart. That's all I'm hoping for. That's all I can pray for. Because I am and I guess I shouldn't be a pastor because I'm confused. I am baffled, you guys. Like, I'm reading the Bible going, how is this allowed to exist over here? Only God understands this.
At my church this past Sunday, I did get to talk on a passage that Jesus talked about John the Baptist, and that there's been no man born on earth that is as great as John the Baptist.
Yeah, man.
But the lowest in the kingdom of heaven is above him.
That's Jesus' evaluation, bro. So this identity crisis, I think, comes from you going into these environments and you just feel funny. And so you either got two things. You can either go be lonely and not be in the group, or you can pretend. And I think most people pretend. And when they find out what sells, they sell. So if having the perfect family and being the good mom, you're going to get on Facebook and you're going to put your little wise cracks in your wise notes and you're going to say that because it sells. And you're going to go with that. Whatever sells. And I think everybody does it. I don't think anybody's not guilty.
Yeah.
I told Dave, I'll say it, truth be told, I don't put anything that I'm really thinking on Facebook.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Like, I don't put that on there. I don't.
That's what TikTok's for.
I don't even. I can almost get away with some stuff on Twitter. My Twitter is a little more edgier than my Facebook. You've experienced. You see that.
Yeah.
But Because there's nobody from my church. There's very few people from my church on Twitter. They're all Facebook junkies. So Twitter is where I can kind of talk about sports. Like when I used to post about like the Denver Broncos, there were people in my church who got mad, like because I made a joke about the Denver Broncos or whoever their favorite team is. So I have
How
learned,
dare you?
Yeah. So it's like you can't even. So at the church, you cannot. If I just got saved and I grew up. And I grew up with a liberal background. I grew up in Lawrence, Kansas, hypothetically. Let's say most liberal family, Democrat, and I've had that ingrained in me my whole life. I get saved, and I have this experience with Christ. The church demands that I change every worldview I have right now in order for me to exist in the body of Christ. They demand, and I have to do it now. If I'm going to go to any one of you guys' church, if I'm going to go to Living Word, I'm a truth teller. Mm-hmm. And I believe in late-term abortion, and it's only because I haven't had the time to sit. They're going to make sure, they're going to help me with that. They're not going to slow walk me. They're going to help me with that. If I go to your church, they're going to help me with that. And I don't even know what I've done wrong. I don't even know. I've had people serving in ministry, like feeding people. They hear the other person's politics and leave.
Yep.
And the person is a brand new Christian. And they left.
I wish I could be here in 100 years so I could hear how the professor would explain in the third year seminary class why they're about to listen to a podcast about Miss Cleo.
The whole adage of fake it till you make it, she made it. She was a fraud and she got found out. And most of us, it happens to most of us.
But
it happened to Mark Driscoll.
It happened on a big stage.
It happened to your buddy out in North Carolina.
Happened to Tom Brady.
It happens to Michael Jackson. Happens to Elvis.
Happened to Madonna.
You
ever heard? Okay, so Madonna has this amazing quote, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't have it right in front of me. Yeah. But she does this quote some years ago where she's at like the height of her queen of popness, where she says, when I finally all at once come to the realization that I'm a spectacular person, it is immediately followed by the thought that I'm not good enough. And she's constantly doing this up and down thing. She describes where she feels like she's questioning her value as a human being. She sold how many records? How many albums? Yeah. Like she's like Tom Brady in her field. She can't do anymore.
Yeah,
she can't do anymore. And yet you hear these people are struggling with their value, and that's the thing is like it's an identity struggle, but it's also a value struggle.
Yeah.
So there's someone probably listening to the podcast that was like, I thought they were going to talk about King Saul and conjuring up Samuel when they discussed the Miss Cleo podcast, and they did not even address it.
I'm sorry.
We did not go there.
Stopped listening 30 minutes ago.
I think this would be a good thing to end on.
Yes.
If I can find it. Not because I'm a control freak. But Freddie Mercury.
Queen lead singer.
Yes, Freddie Mercury, who has a very interesting story, and we all, I won't say we all, but there is this sense of appreciation you can have for his time. If there's a concert that Freddie Mercury has, Queen has, where they were in London.
Wembley Stadium, yeah.
You talk about having an audience in the palm of your hands, right? But I saw this quote from him one day on his deathbed, and he talked about how his whole passion was just to be loved. And every relationship, and he was gay, I believe.
Yes.
Every relationship ended up being this empty sense of they don't really love me for me. They love me because I'm Freddie Mercury. And he was just in this empty pursuit to really be loved. And he was crying, saying, I'm dying, feeling unloved. That's worse than AIDS. You know what I'm saying? So here he is, what we would think. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
But still felt unloved for some reason.
Yeah.
So I think you will change your identity to get whatever your idea is love is. And that's why we've got to go to the cross. Even pastors.
Especially pastors.
Have to guard their hearts against changing who you are in Christ. I'm not just saying like the hokey dokey, the whole in Christ who you are. If I'm really a more than conqueror, then I won't people please. And I won't go to Dave. Dave can't come to me with the issue, and I'm kind of changing it because the family that's involved in it is the biggest donor. If you're a more than conqueror, it doesn't matter if it's the largest family donating the money or you know what I'm saying? But y'all know good and well you can't sit at this table and say we don't make decisions like that.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all know good and well the influential family gets a little bit of the preferential treatment.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So
Dave's pleading the fifth.
at the end of the day, that's our struggle, is the identity. We make decisions to try to get love in all the ways that we think we can get love.
It's a value struggle. Every
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good
single
point.
stinking episode of VH1's Behind the Music
Absolutely.
is the book of Ecclesiastes.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
if it's Solomon, it's Kahelic. He identifies himself as Kahelic, but we all assume it's Solomon. If he's the one that wrote that, he's giving you a real vision of humanity in the world. The only thing he doesn't know yet is the piece that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Is Jesus.
Yeah.
So if you're out there and you're listening and you're struggling with your value and you're struggling with your identity, know that we see you. We may not know you personally, but we can tell you you're valuable.
Yeah.
That you as an individual have value. That and because we know that you have value, I don't even know you, but I'd do anything for you.
Well, the other thing is, you said that the saddest one's the Milli Vanilli one.
Oh, yeah, that one.
That's so sad. And again, we're back to kayfabe again and believability and identity. And I can really sing, but you really can't. And it's all kayfabe.
You look like you can sing.
Yeah. It's like, that's where we are.
Yeah.
And the Everybody Dance Now, CNC Music Factory. And when we found out that the girl in the video wasn't the one singing, that's kayfabe. It was believable.
Wait.
Yeah.
What?
Spoilers.
She wasn't?
No.
You have just ruined 2023.
The band 3 Tons of Fun. She was on It's Raining Man. Oh, that's that lady.
What is real?
Wells. And she's on Arsenio Hall, and she's sitting in her chair. And Arsenio goes, do it for us. And she did the Everybody Dance Now, and the place went crazy.
Wow.
But she was a big woman. She was in a band called 3 Tons of Fun. She was a big woman. And she sung all these music songs, and nobody ever used her because she was fat. Now think about the identity of that. Now, luckily, she was secure in her identity in a lot of ways, so she didn't become anorexic or anything. But think about that.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It's a good way to end.
Yep.
Everybody.
We'll end with 3 Tons of Fun.
Thank
From
you.
Miss
Yes.
Cleo to 3 Tons of Fun.
I just learned something. I didn't know that.
Yep.
But yeah, value, identity. Hey, leave comments on the posts we make on social media for this episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts. I know it's a little different.
A lot different.
It's a little different.
I don't know why anybody invites me on their podcast. I don't get it.
We'll let the listeners decide. I think they're gonna like
I
this.
think they're going to never ask me back again.
Well, we'll let them decide. I can't call it.
I
Right now.
know I have identity issues.
Hey, everybody have a great week. We'll be back with some more pop culture next week. We'll see you then.